Hello. Let's see. Welcome in. First people to arrive. How's everyone doing? We're going to give a few minutes to let some folks trickle in and then we'll kick off. Kate, where are you calling in from? And you, Priya? Oh, a note taker joined before someone named Joe. Now it's serious. I wonder if this Joe character will actually join or if we'll just have Joe's note taker to talk with. Yes, we'll see. All right. It's 2:01 right now, so we're still just 1 minute in. We're going to give it maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll kick off. I got a few questions to get us going, though. So if you feel like participating from the get-go, we have some welcome questions. Welcome in, Julie. Welcome in, Kathleen. These are some opening questions as we wait for more folks to trickle in. Where are you? You do cold email? Do you opt-in email? Do you both? Do you not do email? That's fine too. Hi, Kathleen. Thanks. Do you have any deliverability problems or issues right now? That is what Senders specializes in. So that's something we can address right here on this call, a little bit later in the Q&A section. Cool. Just another few minutes, and I think we'll be ready to rock. Apollo and HubSpot. Okay, cool. Hopefully, well, we can dig into what exactly you're doing with them later if time allows and if we feel like it. But, cool. New Jersey opt-in Braze. You do have delivery. Oh, and you got help from Senders. Well, that's nice. Glad to hear that. You're welcome. In the you're welcome sense, not in the thank you, you're welcome sense. You're welcome. Appreciate it very much. Maybe some deliverability issues. Okay. Well, Kathleen, if you're not sure if you have deliverability issues, I mean, we can talk specifically about them on this call, but we brought a technician who's in the call too, who's going to be here for part of it, named Dame, D-A-M-E. And Dame, do you want to post a link to your calendar right in the chat here for Kathleen? Because if you're not sure if you have deliverability issues, Dame and our team, others, Dame can help address those issues for you on a separate call anytime as a thank you for you having even joined this. There you go. Just grab some time. Everyone coming in now. We got Beckham and Brig and Joe's note taker, but no Joe. So Joe's going to be reviewing this later. Julie and Kate and Kathleen and Priya. I think we'll probably kick off in like 60 seconds. And there'll be plenty of time for Q&A at the end. And for those who are just joining, Dame, who's a technician from our team on the email deliverability side, is open to having a call with anyone who feels like they might be having deliverability issues or wants to talk through anything in particular. And we also have time on Q&A at the end of this call, which is hopefully useful for everybody. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm going to kick into the core of what we're going to talk about today. I have a special guest that will be helping me through some of this content as well. And then after we get through that, we'll have time for Q&A. And for Q&A time, anything goes. And we'll do Q&A until all the questions are answered. If there are no questions, we will skip the Q&A. Easy peasy. Cool. Let's jump into it. So probably introduction is in order. I'm seeing some new faces here, new names. My name is Benny Rubin. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Senders. Senders focuses entirely on cold email deliverability, as well as some non-cold email deliverability, but mainly email deliverability. We look at and care about the complete picture of email deliverability. A lot of our clients use it for business development, And because they use it for business development and lead generation, we have a very wide view about what all of our clients are doing at any given time with marketing and other things. And today we're going to talk a little about marketing playbooks and what we're seeing kind of come together as the marketing playbook for 2025. But Senders itself really focuses on cold email. I think we've sent maybe 50 million, somewhere between 30 and 50 million cold emails in the last 12 months. I'd have to count. All the advice that we give isn't theoretical. It's not based on like a tiny sample size. We care about this stuff day in and day out. We take it all very seriously. And folks come to us with email deliverability issues and we solve them. That's what we do. Today, we're not talking specifically about that, although most folks who come through have some sort of email question, email deliverability question. Those folks can ask directly in the Q&A at the end, or you can schedule a time with one of our technicians if you'd like. All right. So it seems like the 2025 playbook is set. I know that sounds funny to say because 2025 just started, and who knows what will come around the bend, so to speak. But a lot of the trends that started or seem to have a lot of momentum in 2024 seem to be continuing in 2025. So it makes sense to package up and talk about what is going on now in marketing and what are all the pieces that people are bringing together. So to discuss this in more detail, I brought on a partner, which is Sender's own marketing partner, a company called Craze. And the founder, Og, is here with us today. And we're going to talk a little bit about what those playbook pieces are, the value of them, how they're being used now, why not. But before he joins, we're going to first talk about cold email, which is happens to be my specialty and Sender's specialty since we got started in 2016 or so. I think it was 2016 when we started. So almost every year, somebody says over and over and over again in different ways, cold email is dead for a variety of reasons. Cold email is not dead. In fact, we're still seeing it perform very, very well for a bunch of different kinds of companies and a bunch of different kinds of uses. And it's a kind of an interesting thing because Senders itself doesn't really benefit from promoting cold email. Years ago, when cold email was kind of new, or there were very few companies doing it, we did benefit from promoting it. Like, cold email is great, you should do it. But now cold email is so standard, everyone's doing it in every kind of category you could imagine, that we don't even need to promote it. We basically can say, if you're doing cold email and you're struggling with deliverability or whatever else, you can come to us and we'll help you because we have a lot of experience doing it. But cold email itself is not dead. The thing we are seeing, though, is that cold email is being more and more used as a channel to enhance other channels rather than a specific standalone channel. Believe it or not too many years ago, there were many, many, many B2B software companies that pretty much their entire marketing stack was just cold email out, leads come in, deals get made and closed, and that's that. And including multiple multi-billion-dollar companies that did almost nothing besides that, which is kind of cool. It's not really the case anymore. Now we're seeing it more as a channel to enhance other channels and part of a wider mix. On the strategy side, in the olden days, email strategy was really around how to sum up your value proposition in a very clear and very succinct way, and maybe draw out specific elements of your product to entice the viewer or the listener or the, I guess in this case, the reader of the email to respond with interest. Now it seems that less specific about the value proposition of the product and more about the bigger or wider value proposition seems to be the cold email strategy that works the best. I actually did a whole webinar specifically on this subject last year, where I talked in depth and did a whole webinar. I think that's available on the internet. Maybe we can drop a link to that here. If not, you can find it. I think it's called Skip the Pitch, something like that. And on that webinar, we talked about how cold email content that works is oftentimes about community, continuity, connection, confidence, curiosity, curation, and credibility. I love the C, everything starting with C. So that's what I threw into the mix there. But that webinar goes over all these different ways and angles and to slice and dice cold email in a way that works beyond just the value proposition of your business. So I recommend you check it out if you're interested. The most specific example, the most immediate example I can give you is this webinar itself. So on a specific level, Senders does email deliverability, services, solutions in the way that I talked about a second ago. But on a wider sense, we are sharing expertise about email deliverability, and this webinar is a way to share that expertise. So it's slightly easier to market a webinar in this instance for this particular audience, our particular audience, than it is necessarily to market a specific service. As we talked about with Kathleen here just a minute ago, right here in the chat, I think Kathleen was the one who said they're not sure if they have an email deliverability problem. Well, if you get a cold email from us that says, do you have a deliverability problem? We can solve it. And you're not sure, pretty low likelihood that you're going to respond with interest. But if it's about a webinar, you can join, learn a little bit, participate in Q&A, maybe you will do that. And that brings you into the fold. So cold email strategies, a little bit more about that wider view. And that's all I'll say about cold email for now. Later, we can circle back and talk more about nitty gritty about IP addresses and domains and whatever, all the stuff that really makes cold email come together that we specialize in. But from this section on, I'm going to bring on Og from Craze, and we're going to talk about what Og is seeing in LinkedIn outbound and how that relates to what I'm seeing. So this is Og. Hey, wave for everyone, Og.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having me.
If you can't see Og, I don't know how to adjust your Zoom settings, but Og is here. You can see him smiling away. Og runs a full service marketing agency. Website looks like this. They have lots of clients. They do all different kinds of stuff that we don't really do, like SEO and all different kinds of services at various price points. They can see our case studies here too, because they have done all of our marketing and helped us build our branding presence and stuff. So I trust Og and I like Og's opinion on these things. So Og, let's start with LinkedIn outbound. What we're typically seeing is the process of sending out invites to people in your select audience with various kinds of messaging, trying to engage them in a sort of back and forth. And that's becoming more and more popular, but it seems to continue to be effective. Do you want to speak a little bit about how many messages people are sending, what kind of response rates they're getting, how it all sort of comes together in the modern 2025 moment?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Benny, for having me, and thank you for the nicest intro. LinkedIn outbound. Yeah. Well, I don't think we are fully aware of what kind of capital we have under our hands in terms of LinkedIn profiles, your personal profiles as founders, and your employees' profiles as well. Now, how does the LinkedIn outbound basically work? So you have multiple different sizes of tools utilizing the automation on LinkedIn, where the first step is always, I'm going to send an invite. All right. So, and there is an option. You can choose to send a message within the invite, or you can do it without the message. Now, these are sequences the same way the emails are, but the only difference is that you're sending the connection request, so you can get that big no there. All right, and then in terms of deliverability rates for LinkedIn outbound, well, they all come to your inbox because they can be spammy. The messages can be spammy, but LinkedIn can defend you from that. And we are seeing a big growth since 2023 in terms of LinkedIn outbound. But what we're also seeing is increase in email outbound as well. So these work together really good. If you ask...
Yeah. No, I didn't mean to. Sorry. I was just going to say that, Kathleen, we don't have specific slides for all the details on LinkedIn. We're kind of talking generally about it. I guess we could have done that. Oh, maybe go make some slides, come back.
We can hop on a call, Kathleen.
Yeah. Well, the general strategy that everyone sees is outbound. You send a request to someone with a message or without. Are you seeing that at various times people have said that with a message is better, without a message is better, or is it case by case? What are you generally seeing?
With the message included.
Yeah. And should that message be like a direct value proposition, or are you seeing various things?
No. So you're basically introducing yourself. Hey, I want to be within your connection network. If you ever need, you can present your services in additional sentence where you're just saying, because you're introducing yourself, you're going to say your name, but you're also going to say, because it's a business network, you're also going to
Right.
say, so this is what I do. But you're not hard selling there. No, and potentially even not within the first, second, or third message as well. It always depends on what you're selling.
Got it. Is there a certain kind of profile of buyer that responds and engages with these? Because personally, I don't spend a lot of time seeing messages that come through LinkedIn. Maybe they're not sending them that are any of interest to me, or I'm not in the right buying mindset, but I know it works. So is it one of these things where there's a particular kind of audience that it works for, or is it just like everything else? It's kind of a numbers game.
I would say that comparing it to emails, it's not that of a much of a numbers game, but it's still always a numbers game. You know, if you're sending more, you're gonna get more interested replies, of course. But I would say, you know, you can target very specifically on LinkedIn, and you're gonna target companies that have minimum growth year on year, which is, you know, 5%, 20% based on what you're selling. So the point is you can target people really specifically. So the response rates go up to, you know, 25% out of all invites sent, you get a response. You
Yeah.
know, so the numbers are really completely different than on emails.
Yeah, that's for sure. That makes sense. Cool. So the next slide here is LinkedIn posting. So LinkedIn posting, I mean, it's tough to read too much on LinkedIn. It's a pretty heavy dose of whatever that LinkedIn sauce is there. But I post on LinkedIn, and I've benefited a lot from making the posts and seeing the responses come in, and that leading to opportunities in different ways. Tell me what you're seeing in terms of pace of LinkedIn posting, what kinds of posting you're seeing working well, generally how that what you might call organic piece of it is coming together.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, LinkedIn is a social network. It's for people. So you should be talking about yourself and other people, not hard selling. All right. So that's the first note. Don't go and just pop up all the posts around what you're selling. Nobody cares. If they care, they're gonna do an additional
But
click.
certainly they care about what I'm selling. Just kidding.
Exactly. But you're Benny.
That's right, I'm Benny.
Not everybody, you know, is a Benny. Uh, so yeah, I mean, it's a social network, even though it's a business-oriented social network. So if someone is interested in what you're selling, they will, you know, go to your website. They will click the button. They will schedule a call. They won't
Yeah,
buy immediately from the post they see because you're selling.
yeah,
Well, you know, you have a lot of competitors. Every company has a
yeah. I have noticed that a lot more that LinkedIn rolled out a lot of very small tools that actually help and support the benefits of the LinkedIn posting. For example, they make a button now that you can click on that says that you can like go directly to where you want the person underneath the profile name, for example. That kind of thing didn't exist. It was a little bit tricky. And then now I think almost every person has some allotment of in-mail credits or can send messages or something, even if they don't have a very large number of them. And that kind of allows anyone, I see it come into my inbox too, people say, hey, I saw your post about that, I'd love to chat. And they kind of like used an in-mail credit to reach me, which is nice of them. But that means that it actually can function as like you do something and then good things come back. The other thing is making sure you're active in the comments of your own posts. I don't personally, and this does not constitute advice for the world. I don't like to do things particularly because I think the algorithm likes them. That seems a little bit odd to me mentally, but certainly the things that help the algorithm tend to be the things that probably help you too, to a certain extent. So when people are responding, it does make sense to jump to the comments because there could be some way that you can be useful to them, and that usefulness somehow translates into better reach for your post or, you know, leads for your business. Let's jump into LinkedIn outbound. I think, let me see, what was the difference I thought between, oh yeah, sorry, LinkedIn outbound was when I was supposed to go. That slide was about the first one, but LinkedIn outbound was the general term for reaching out to folks, adding them on as a connection, and then going from there. I think that there's probably a lot of room to go with LinkedIn outbound, because if you do a lot of outbound and you collect a lot of connections, even if they don't turn to something, now they become your first degree connections. And those first degree connections you can reach out to in different ways and patterns as well. So there's always potential for doing more one-on-one outbound to promote whatever else you have going, which makes it a pretty close parallel to other sorts of lead gen. It's a little bit of a middle of the funnel exercise. Then I think this is the last slide on LinkedIn stuff. We have organic promotion, which, if you want to speak a little bit about what folks are seeing in terms of making organic promotion of their LinkedIn posts.
Yeah, sure. Just step back. The point is that you don't have to be an influencer with 10K plus followers to sell on LinkedIn. It's around how organic does it look. The whole marketing is around acting. You need to act. You need to
Wait,
act.
you're trying to tell me that the business social network is about acting? I thought. I'm just
Are people really that happy all the time? And then
don't ask.
for the organic promotion, well, organic promotion is basically based on influencer pools. All right, and there's a lot of platforms that offer this. Now, you should be aware that you shouldn't be using India ones. All right, because they don't look logical. Why would I, a business owner in US, have a bunch of people from India commenting on my post?
So you're not specifically talking about India. You're specifically talking about,
as an example,
groups that are outside of your regular jurisdiction.
Exactly.
So if you're an American company and you focus on American customers, if there's an organic promotion group or something, you should focus on them being in America. And the same thing goes if you're in India, then it probably makes sense to focus on India or anywhere else in the world.
Exactly. And that's why organic in this sense means, all right, we want for it to feel natural, for people to believe the story.
So to answer your question, Kathleen, organic, the way I think about organic in this context is using the tools that LinkedIn gives you in a wider sense that grow your audience without you paying to grow the audience, or taking advantage of something like an InMail that is like you have a certain number of credits and you're using it to go to reach out to them. So organic would be an example of a very simple organic thing would say something like, let's say your company had 100 people and you said, hey, everyone in the company, when I make a post, can you guys comment on it? Can you read it, engage with it? Because that'll help reach your audience, et cetera, et cetera. That's an organic promotion motion, so to speak. That's what we're talking about. So you make the organic content, you make the content, you try to make it seem extemporaneous and nice, but thoughtful and not positive and whatever, all the things that people think fly on LinkedIn these days. And then you ask people to post and comment underneath it, make comments underneath it, and then you engage with those people. And that sort of constitutes some form of organic promotion. And then one step further from that, outside the people that you personally know, there are groups of people, probably, I'm not really familiar with this stuff, but that you can pay for some sort of promotion where they have a wide reach and they comment on your post as well. That's the sort of organic path that we're talking about. That makes sense. Great. Kathleen also says, is InMail alive? I think that all these channels are fine in their own way. I don't see very many, me personally in my inbox, I don't see very many really clever uses of InMail. Clever in the sense that, wow, like this kind of got my attention. Like, yeah, maybe I will check this out. It could just be that just like every other tool, how you use it makes sense. And maybe there is still innovation to be had in InMail. We have some clients that are using it very, very successfully. And the way they're doing it is the same kinds of things we talked about, all the C's that we mentioned before. And in the November webinar, they're sort of bringing that mentality into the InMail outbound space. So they're using InMail similar to how they use cold email in that sense. Can be pretty effective just as everything else can, or completely ineffective if it's done poorly or not super intelligently. So next we're going to talk about paid acquisition. You ready, Og?
Yeah, sure.
We're going to first talk about LinkedIn boosting and ads. So this is the non-organic part, Kathleen. So you make a post, the post kind of works. You have folks that are responding to it and engaging with it, and you feel pretty good about it. Now you can put ad budget behind it and use this to reach more people that wouldn't see it organically. So why don't you speak a little bit about that process, Og, and
Sure.
how much money are you seeing people put behind individual posts? What kind of reach are you able to get? How does it work over time if you keep promoting a post over time? That kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. So LinkedIn introduced thought leader ads 2 years ago. So this is a new thing, let's say. Before that, they had all the normal types of ads, images, videos, text-based, blah, blah, blah. So within all of those ads that they had before, like on any other social media, you could basically only do it from the company page. But now with thought leader ads, you can boost personal profiles posts. All right. And what this translates into lowering the cost of the click by 10 times. So what we are seeing in terms of the cost per click on LinkedIn thought leader ads, it's like 30 cents. So and you don't get that. You don't get that on Meta, on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Bing, on Google Ads. You don't get that anywhere. All right. The normal cost of a click on LinkedIn ad is from $7 to $10. All right. So
Wow.
it's a huge difference.
And is it because when you're saying click, you're saying people are clicking? I mean, ostensibly, you make a post, LinkedIn boosts it, they're showing it to a bunch of people on your behalf. What is a
Yeah.
click? Is that when someone engages to unroll the whole thing to click read more? Is that a click?
Yes.
Generally, how, yeah. Okay.
Or a different interaction. But that click
Got it.
is basically from all the people interested to find out more. All right.
Right. Right.
Uh,
So we've experimented this with senders. We've had a few posts that have been made by team members of ours that have gone pretty well organically, and we put ad spend behind it over a period of time. I don't think, how much are we talking on? Like a couple $100. We're not talking thousands and thousands, right?
exactly. And that's why
Yeah.
it's good. And we're still, so we had
But
one.
what I was going to say is, just to finish the thought, hundreds of dollars in ad spend, very small amounts of ad spend, very, very targeted audience, which is cool because we tend to work with late seed to Series B funded startups. That's sort of our target audience. Cool. And Og's team sets up the audience such that this post that's really aimed just at those folks gets shown to just those folks. And folks engage with it, which is really interesting, which means that just a message that we want to put out there that's a little bit longer form is now getting an audience beyond what it could be reached organically for a relatively small amount of money. And that's pretty cool.
Exactly. And then also there is the ad frequency problem. All right. So what is that?
Yeah, what is that?
If people see the post numerous times, they will start to hate it. All right.
Ah,
So you can limit the frequency, and you can basically have one campaign running for a year or 2 years if it's still bringing
ah.
on leads. So with small
Oh, I
budget,
got it. So you dial in the frequency to say I only want someone to see this post or this, yeah,
yeah,
this post once.
2 times, 3 times,
So
something.
basically what you're saying, if you want to sabotage your enemy, is you make a post about them and you turn up the frequency as high. So everyone's like, oh, I hate this company. I never want to see it again. No, I'm just being silly. Come on. Let's not talk too much about sabotage. That's a really interesting way to leverage the work that folks are already doing on LinkedIn for a relatively small dollar amount. I guess the proof is whether that increases conversions into meetings or whatever. But that's always the thing with all these tools. You never quite know. What is going on with Google Ads now in the B2B space?
Yeah, Google Ads for B2Bs. Well, you gotta have a really good marketer for Google Ads for B2Bs.
Okay,
Why?
tell me more. Yeah, why is that?
Yeah, so Google Ads is basically a demand capture platform, that kind of advertising. All the other are demand creation. All right, so Meta, Snapchat, whatever. People search for the keyword that you're selling, and they basically find you there. All right,
Right.
so these are, let's say, mostly the cheapest ads for the conversion to happen if your website is good enough compared
Got
to
it.
competitors. Okay. So, and how to do it for B2Bs? Well, you need to go highly specific in terms of keywords and the intent behind the keyword. There are four types of intents for keywords: transactional, commercial, informational, navigational. You want
Got
to
it.
go for transactional and commercial because there's an intent to buy something, to purchase something. All right. So you need to go really and dig deep into a smaller number of impressions for that keyword, where there are no or less competitors than compared to others, and then you have a chance with really small budgets. And we're talking here,
Sure.
1K, 2K, 3K monthly.
Well, I mean, that's interesting. If you compare this to what you need to do a successful LinkedIn ad campaign, with that, you really need pretty much nothing at all. You make a post, you you get a small amount of money behind it. With Google, it sounds like all the things that used to matter with Google Ads still really matter. The conversion of your landing page, the number of searches of that keyword. So it's very well, it's much more involved, and you probably need to involve much more folks in your team. Do you see that there are particular categories of Google Ads that for B2B that are working well, and other words that, like for example, if someone has less than 100 searches on their keyword for the year, does it, I mean, for the month, does that even make sense to be spending on Google Ads, or is it best to just focus on creating demand other places?
Yeah, well, you wouldn't run for one keyword. So you'll make a map of all keywords that are relatable to what you're selling and have a small impression, search impression. So when you find 100 out of these, then you have a chance. All right. So if you're
Got it.
gonna only target it for one, well, it can come, but not that sure. And we need to be aware that people are getting smarter in terms of internet use. All right.
Yeah.
And they do look at all of your competitors. And what we're also seeing is if
Mm,
you are transparent and you have the online credibility, like Sender has, for example, you will be selling and you will have way more conversions than your
got it.
competitors. You gotta, for example, be really open about your pricing.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I mean, all this stuff comes back to the simple fact that if we didn't have an agency partner like your, I don't think we could pull off doing Google Ads very successfully. I think that we'd probably be way overspending and the conversions would not be great. And we'd be like, well, Google Ads isn't working for us, which is a sad fact, you know? Okay.
90% of our audits do find that
Oh,
exactly.
really?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So next up, or finally, I guess this is Facebook ads. For B2B, are you seeing Facebook ads work unless is it only for small business type usage, or are you seeing Facebook Meta, I guess I said Facebook, but I meant Meta, being
Mhm.
something that B2B folks should or are investing in heavily or should invest in more or less in 2025?
Yeah, well, for bigger brands, they should invest in any ad platform forever. It's brand awareness, it's long-term sales, it's credibility growth, all right? But then for smaller brands, for SMBs, I would say it depends on your targeting. It depends on your ICP, your ideal customer persona. All right. So for example, if your ideal customer persona is older than, let's say, 50 years, we know that they will mostly be more on Meta than on TikTok. And statistics are really very clear about that. All
Mm,
right. So it's fairly easy to target and to at first or second question find out is your target audience there.
interesting. Okay. So you'd say that Facebook works similar to Google in the sense that it's much more involved and takes more work to do. However, you can get a good response from it if you're willing to invest the time to do it.
Yeah.
So I have other ads here. We didn't mention X. or Reddit, places like that. Are you seeing more interest in venturing out into other places, or are we seeing further consolidation just in the major platforms plus LinkedIn for advertising?
We're seeing a lot more ad budget spent on X, which started after the thing is with Elon got a bit down, so people came back, but then again TikTok has the hugest growth.
Even for B2B.
Also for B2B, yeah,
Mm,
as well. Because video ads are now working the best, to be honest. If you're a human, you're talking to your audience, you're being
right.
transparent and honest about your offering, about what you're offering. People love that. People love other people, not robots.
Well, I'm not so sure how long that will last. Once the robot overlords take over, people might start to prefer robots. You know, it'll be like in the sci-fi shows where the aliens come in human form so as not to scare the locals. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about content. Well, I guess we don't have to talk too much about content because we talked about it before. I made a whole presentation about it, but like what kinds of content are working in specifics. But the form and format we talked about, we have blogging. Blogging still matters. It seems interesting. It seems a little bit counterintuitive. Even if SEO isn't the biggest game in town, and there's the rise of AI and all these things, SEO might be, obviously it still matters for a lot of reasons because there's still billions and billions of Google searches and whatnot. We found that for credibility purposes, it actually makes a lot of sense to have lots of good content on your website. And that credibility building piece extends beyond just the immediate someone reading it on your website and saying, these guys are smart, because it happens in every part of the buying process where someone might say, send it to their CTO and say, yeah, I'm thinking about working with these folks. The CTO goes to the website, clicks around and goes, seems legit. Great. Goes to the CFO. Hey, I need to sign up because I'm buying something from these guys. Well, let me check it out to see if this is legit. Okay, it checks out. And all those steps in the process are enhanced by you having really good content on your blog. And also that same or very similar content could be going on your LinkedIn and other places. So that's on that. Podcasting is decades old now. It's sort of hitting a mainstream in the way that blogging did, I don't know how many years ago, 10 years ago or something, where now there are lots and lots and lots, thousands of very small podcasts, which is fine because there's always a benefit to a conversation that is more than just one-to-one. And that's basically that's the way I think about podcasting. And for example, now I'm talking to you all, which is cool. I'm saying words that maybe are somewhat useful, as opposed to me just saying that to one person on a sales call. Now it has a broadcast function. Then this information gets uploaded onto somewhere like YouTube where 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, or maybe 5,000 or even 5 million, not that it's going to happen, but people could see that. These are all amplifying messages that used to be one-to-one in a way. So podcasting has that effect. The second order effect that's really nice about podcasting is you can reach out to your target audience for guest bookings, and that outreach, it could be useful to them too, because you help them amplify their message and it becomes symbiotic. So we're seeing a lot more of podcasting in that way. And then social posting, I'm focused mainly on LinkedIn personally because I don't do that particular kind of SMB posting you need for Facebook and LinkedIn and places like that. And X, I'm kind of allergic to it myself, although other folks seem to get a lot of benefit from it. But social posting can also have a similar effect as the content for blogging or what happens in a podcast. This last one, influencer, I think for a couple of years now, we've been saying that there's going to be a rise of B2B influencers, and B2B influencers become more impactful and better to leverage. Og, what are you seeing in terms of B2B influencers? Are they still sort of nameless influencers that just have a wide reach? Or are we seeing actual celebrities come out in different categories that brands are leveraging really successfully to use?
Yeah. Again, you gotta be yourself. You gotta be honest about what you're doing. So those people win. All right, not the actors, not those who are not being honest, not those who are overselling, not those who are giving you huge numbers, all right, and all of that. And there are also, we got to be aware, there are nano, micro influencers, large influencers, and there are always different options of how to utilize them for your business.
Yeah. And, we've, at Senders, we've experimented with sponsoring influencers, LinkedIn, influencers, email, newsletter type things where it's an influencer and they have a lot of people in their newsletter and you pay to have a spot in it. And I've talked to other founders who've also experimented with it. I hesitate to use it because it's such a funny thing to say, but definitely hit or miss. We've had some misses where it's like, well, that was kind of a lot of money. And wow, we really got almost nothing from that. That's really interesting. While peers have said, yeah, we tried it once and it worked really well. And then we tried it again and it didn't work at all. And so, and this goes back to other companies that I've been observing or been helping with wider marketing stuff and seeing like, yeah, okay, this really is hit or miss, which just goes to show you that one thing that Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and other folks have done that's been helpful is they've sort of unified an audience, which means that users are somewhat equivalent and you get a sort of population sampling. While that's not the case with email newsletters, you really do not know who is in that influencer's email marketing pool. And it may be helpful and it may be not helpful to engage with them. If it's free, it doesn't really matter so much, but if it costs money, then you start to have to think about it. And this very well may be that we didn't do enough. Maybe there's a certain threshold where you have to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on email newsletter marketing in order to really see a direct and consistent return on it. So we're losing Dame from my team. He's hopping off as we transition into the Q&A section, which is when we would have used him. No, I'm just kidding. But in conclusion, Alex had a question here, which we can just jump straight to the Q&A. The conclusion was just, wow, there's lots of stuff going on with marketing, as always. A lot of the playbook we're seeing for 2024 is going to continue to 2025. It's going to be a dynamic situation, but not crazy dynamic. Hopefully, all the things that you did in 2024 will continue to work in 2025 with the new little ripples and innovation that come with a new year, for sure. So Alex asked a question about resources for finding annual social media usage and demographic statistics. I'm not familiar with that. Og posted something down in the chat that could be useful. That next question about podcast related resources, there are quite a lot of podcast database. I believe there's one called Podcast DB that I believe we're a subscriber to. I think that's what it's called. Let's just have a look around. Podcast DB,
Yeah, it
I
is.
believe.
The link
It's
right
not
now.
super expensive. Oh, that's not the website for it. I don't know what the website is. Well, can you find that and drop it in the chat? And what you see with tools like, there it is, podcastdb.io. What you see with tools like podcastdb, and I think there's another one called Listener Notes. Listener Notes, is that what it's called? There are these tools where you can search the words that were used in podcasts, the title of podcasts, and all that kind of detail. So you can, if you're doing something in a very specific way, like if you're doing SEO for doctor's offices or something, you can kind of use keywords to search, like, okay, who's talking about SEO? Who's talking about doctor office marketing? Who's talking? You get a sort of sense. And then those platforms also estimate the audience size, which is kind of cool. So you can get a sense of how many people may or may not be tuning in to listen to someone talk about something specifically in your niche. So the question of how you use this kind of thing, well, we have cold email clients that use this to cold email those podcasters to ask them if they'll have their CEOs and founders as guests on their site. That's one way to use it. Another is for purely intelligence, to understand what's going on. And then the third one, of course, is to look for places to advertise. So if you see that there is a popular SEO for dentists, I'm making this up, I don't know what you guys are, what you all are up to, but SEO for dentists category, you might say, okay, I want to see if they'll take my advertising dollars to promote me on them without any other way of interacting with them. So those are pretty useful tools for that purpose. Any other questions? We didn't really talk about email deliverability, and it looks like some folks are dropping off, so maybe people got what they were looking for from this. But we're here or around. You can reach me at here, Benny at senders.co, our director of revenue, Chris Lee, if you want to talk about our pricing plans and the things that we offer as senders. And I also put Og, who was our guest here. Thank you so much, Og, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And this is Og's wild and crazyandfriends.com email address. Notice the J in the middle of his name, just in case those who are not sure how to spell it. It's OGNJEN.V at crazyandfriends.com. So you can send Og an email if you want a marketing audit or anything else related to that. Cool. Last chance for any questions. Are there any questions I missed? Here. I don't think so. Cool. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great day. Stay warm out there, depending on where in the world you are. I got a cold last week. Still the tail end of that. And best of luck.
Thank you all.